supposed to say something? I'm saying it right now. This is Robin Casper.
Hello.
And my friend, and good evening, and good night, or whatever you want. Maybe good afternoon. In your name, sir, is Peter, and we call you Cactus Pete.
That's right. Thank you, Carl. And Robin, Cactus Pete, often bitter, sometimes sweet. And to my friends south of the border here with us in America and California, I am also be known as Governor Pedro Alejandro. And we're here today to talk about the City Council and Justice for All in the City Council race that has some new people coming forward. And I think what we'll do is we'll start off and let Robin Casper introduce one or two people she wants to speak about, and we'll begin the discussion that way. So let's go ahead and start.
Okay, so one of the people that I was interested who's running for city council is Ashley Crocker. She's a land use attorney, and I feel a connection to that because I'm a paralegal and I work for an attorney in Santa Rosa. She was raised in Santa Rosa. She's 43. She has 6-year-old twin daughters, and she is publicly identifying herself as a lesbian, which I have no problem with her running as a lesbian, but I think it's good that she's coming in with the family values that she's trying to present and have more transparency on the city council. So her platform is, more security. She wants the street lights turned on. She wants the roads fixed. She wants more public parks. She wants more transparency in government. And she is 43, and it might be good to have a new voice on the council because we've seen what's happened in the past. And so I'd like to see what it would happen if she got on the council because it might be good. So that was who I was endorsing today.
Well, I'm glad you shared that with us, Robin. But anybody that knows me, Cactus Pete, often bitter, sometimes sweet, they know that I have an addiction to friction. And I have a bit of an aversion to lawyers. Now, some of the things you just talked about are very important. But, we have been duped in the political realm for so long to think that there is actually a Democratic and Republican Party looking out for the interests of us, whereas the reality is who controls both of them are bar attorneys. They are attorneys. And the problem with lawyers is that in this country, bar attorneys have made a career out of dissing and urinating on the Constitution. It has not been cherished. It has been disregarded. We've been under martial law since well before the 1947 National Security Act. And so if we're going to have someone that wants to be a legal person, the one thing that I've said, Robin, is when I'm governor, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give all bar attorneys in public office, including judges, 24 hours to disassociate from the bar or to leave their job because they have a conflict of interest. And they could become constitutional barristers. And I'm just going to share with you one or two thoughts, and then I'm going to bring it right back to you as to why I make this statement regarding the conflict of interest. And some people know this, but not enough. And that is this. I have on one of my websites 30 little known facts about America. I'm going to mention 2 of them. And you can find this by Googling my name, Peter Cherneff, Mumiabu Jamal affidavit, and you'll find it right away. And that is that the Bar Association, by law, is beholden to the Vatican. And number 20 here says, the Pope can abolish any law in the United States, which is elements of ecclesiastical law, and it gives you all the numbers. Number 22, the Pope claims to own the entire planet through the laws of conquest and discovery. Ever wonder why an attorney who is an agent of the Pope through the International Bar Association wants to do discovery with you? Okay, this is all in their papal bulls. And the last one is that I'll mention here, there's quite a few others, and this is all lawful stuff. The Pope's laws are obligatory on everyone. And so For that reason, I am no fan of bar attorneys. I find that the movie The Devil's Advocate portrays a very interesting reality. Right now, the lawyers are already turning on themselves, let alone in the movie, Al Pacino gloats about how there are more people in law school than there are lawyers out in the jobs right now. Well, to me, aside from the small percentage that are really trying to do good things, they are a parasitic entity that steals at the end of a pen and a computer keystroke. And we all know what Shakespeare and Jesus made statements in their regards as lawyers in general. One of them was in biblical literature is a passage that reads, "Woe unto thee, lawyer, for thou removes the key to knowledge." So I would be more interested in this person as a person than a lawyer. If this is a very genuine person, then they should have no reason to be a bar member unless they didn't understand what it means. And to me, it is not Republicans and Democrats. It is the Bar Association controlling this illusion to maintain control as they have been. That's why I say what I do.
Well, Ashley also does charitable work, and just because she's a lawyer doesn't mean she should be disregarded. She's also on the Planning Council. She was appointed to the Planning Council in March by Aaron Karlstrom. She also serves on the advisory board for the Children's Museum of Sonoma County, and as the past vice president, she worked with the city of Santa Rosa to secure the necessary entitlements for the museum's now permanent location. And I think this is something that she's striving for, is a more family-friendly environment for Santa Rosa. She had mentioned that she wanted it to be family-friendly for people who come here for wine tours, for an example. She wants there to be more places where the children can play, more open parks, more safety. And so just because she's an attorney, you can't just count her because of that. And so I was just saying, I think it would be good for the council to have some fresh voices, because they do need transparency. And I think that is one strong selling point that she's advocating.
Thank you for bringing that up. And you said she's with the Planning Commission, and we were reviewing some documents where she made a reference to something called infill. And so for those of us listening, put down your food, get your piece of paper and a pencil out. Now, get a piece of paper or pencil right now, because you're going to write down a few things. I just Googled before the show the term infill Agenda 21. And when someone like you're speaking about is very sincere, then I would challenge them to bring forth this information publicly and acknowledge and specify what they mean. Because when you Google infill Agenda 21, you'll see that this is a United Nations agenda, which the only person that's been speaking about this is, what's the name of that other gal that's running for mayor?
Her name is Fennell, and her name is Colleen.
Colleen Fernald. And so Colleen is not a professional lawyer or a professional politician, but she's a genuine person who is pushing people to think and challenge the concept of what Agenda 21 really is. And she talks about the water issue. So as far as this person, Ashley, it doesn't matter to me what her lifestyles is. I've gone to many gay event and picnics, and people come up to me and say, "I didn't know you were gay." And I says, "Well, I wouldn't say that I am." I said, "I am all things the Spirit sings." I'm the best, I'm the worst, I'm the blessed, I'm the cursed, I be you and you be me, and we're here to set it all free. Why would I want to separate myself and call myself one thing or another when all that is division? Now, I have no reason to have any dislike for this person, Ashley, and she might actually be a very good person and might be the right person for the job. That's all true. But I challenge her to address the Agenda 21 issue with this, which has to do with taking people off the land and crowding them onto inner cities for a variety of reasons, most of which are not really good if you understand what I'm speaking about. So Google infill Agenda 21, and I would hope that she will bring this up. If she does, it'll be to her betterment.
You spoke about Colleen Fernald, And I did some research, and she is an anti-war activist, which I have no problem with that. But she is a Sebastopol resident. So if she's planning to run for city council, she claims she's looking for a place to live in the city. And hopefully she'd find one before the election. And then I was also reading up about Ashley on her website, and she claims that her 3 main priorities will be open government, jobs and economic development, and public safety. And so I think she has the good of the city at heart. And being on the planning council is only one of the things she does. She also is a task force member of the Santa Rosa Open Government Task Force. So she's trying to create more transparency with the city council, which, as you know, our government needs more transparency, clearly, on all levels. So she might have good and bad points, but I think everybody might have good and bad points, so you have to pick your priorities and see which one appeals to you.
Isn't she involved also with Karlstrom? And she is a lawyer too. Is Karlstrom endorsing her? Do you know that?
Okay, so she was appointed to the Planning Commission in March by Councilwoman Erin Karlstrom. Her political consultant is Karlstrom's husband, Nick Caston. Mm-hmm. So I would believe Erin Karlstrom is supporting her.
I'm flipping back to me for just a second. I want you to elaborate on something, if you would, please. What do you mean specifically, if you can, when you say that she wants to address the issue of open government? Please address that for us, either one of you, please.
Okay, so as I said, I was reading her website, and she talks about open government, and she says, I am currently working with other task force members to develop a robust public openness and transparency policy, commonly known as a Sunshine Ordinance, for Santa Rosa. Our city has had some significant issues with open government, and I believe new policies, if enacted, will restore the public's faith. Now, I'm just reading this from her website, so this is what she's saying.
Okay. Again, so the one thing that Carl just brought up is the affiliation of Ashley with Karlstrom. And again, I believe that this is the time in history for women to rise up. You know, I've said it before, you know, goddess be arisen to bust the chains of this old prison. But I'm concerned about their chosen profession and what it represents. You know, the average person does not know or believes that we the people refers to you and I. And it doesn't. You and I are not we the people, not legally, not lawfully. And you know who we the people actually are in the lawful definition?
Who's that?
Lawyers.
Lawyers are
That's
the
right.
only ones.
They are the ones that are lawfully, legally referred to as we the people. We, the citizenry, are slaves in a half a dozen ways and tied into knots psychologically by the courts and the lawyer industry. When you go to court, even if you pay a lawyer $50,000, they're not working for you. They're working for the bar. They're working. They work together. You got the prosecutor and whoever is representing the person in court. All they do is help waltz them up to the front desk with their fingers in their pockets, and that is what's going on. We have been under martial law. They do not abide or honor the Constitution whatsoever. And that's been the case for a very long time. We have been under the illusions and under TV programming to think that lawyers are some amazing group of people that do all this amazing work. And let me tell you that I know quite a few lawyers that have done a lot of good work despite the general population of attorneys that simply operate by rote to make money off of everybody else's created illusionary misfortunes by their system of millions and millions of codes and statutes. Whereas the Constitution only says if you've done something wrong, you have to either kill somebody, harm somebody, or destroy their property or steal. That's 4 things. That's what the Constitution talks about. But now you look around, there are blocks and neighborhoods full of libraries full of codes and laws that nobody can go through a day without breaking at least a dozen of them. And that is why I say if these people really want to serve the public, they should separate themselves from the bar, be constitutional barristers, and do the right thing, acknowledge what's really going on. Because if they do not acknowledge this, then they're not for real and not to be trusted by me or anyone else.
Robin, do you want to say anything more?
Yes, I'd like to address that issue, seeing as I'm in the legal profession. I work for a lawyer. A lot of lawyers do very good work. I work for an estate planning attorney, for an example, and I think everybody should plan for their future. We do wills and trusts and powers of attorney for people. This is not something that's going to wreck their lives. This is something that's going to save their wishes when they pass on for their family to follow. If there was nothing written, it might be chaos because a spouse or an ex-spouse might be fighting over the estate, or sibling rivalry might cause a problem. This way, if somebody plans in advance, they will have their wishes known to their family, and I don't think this is a bad thing.
Maybe we shouldn't. We should continue with more of the city council race instead of going on with this. This is enough, I think. And then we can talk about the other candidates. Do you want to bring that up? Who you endorse?
Okay. Well, I'm not really part of a, as I said, I'm unofficially running for governor, and a lot of people know that now. But as far as the city council, I would just suggest strongly to anybody listening today to see what these people are each saying. Okay, I'm not going to point and say vote for this person or that, but the persons that are usually dissed by the media, sometimes I think are more interesting to listen to. Our friend Robin Casper made a mention that Miss
Crocker?
the other one,
Fernald?
Fernald, is not a resident. Well, she has established enough of a situation that she is in the debates. That's what I know so far, so I wouldn't say anything negative there. And as far as in response to Robin's speaking about the lawyerly profession, I think that we shouldn't judge all 95% of them. 5% do a great job, and so I think that with the city council race, it would be important to see what questions are asked and who is avoiding talking about some of the issues being brought up. And that's why I think Colleen is very interesting, is she brings up 2 or 3 very, very serious issues, and I don't see anybody addressing them, let alone either one of the lawyers that are on the panel. And I think that if they're not going to address that, then there's a problem there. There's a problem if we're not talking about our water. There's a problem if we're not talking about Agenda 21, and we're not clarifying what our concerns are in this arena when they are definitely impacting us right here, right now.
Who else could we talk about here? Can we talk about the black men?
I can tell you, I went down to the Democratic headquarters, and who they're endorsing is Curtis Byrd, Lee Pierce, and Chris Corsi. And I asked them, why did they pick these 3 people? And they said, well, there's 3 seats open, and those 3 people are running. And I said, well, why didn't you endorse Ashley Crocker? And they said, well, we didn't know she was running when we endorsed people. So I was kind of disappointed, even though I am a Democrat, in the Democratic Party, because they can endorse more than 3 people, but only because 3 seats are open, they're only endorsing 3 people, and these are the people they've chose, and they chose people before they knew who all was running. So I think that was a little unfair.
How about the policemen? Are we going to talk about them, or the ex-mayor? Or he wasn't the mayor; he was the vice mayor, Sawyer, and the other man was the police chief. He has a long name, and I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's Tom Schwinn. I can't pronounce it either. Schwindhelm. I got this voter update. You must have all got this in the mail, and they listed the people that they have running. Although omitted one person. They have Tom Schwindhelm, John Sawyer, Chucker Chuck E. Sims II, Keith Reinhardt, Lee Pierce, Curtis Bird, Ashley Crocker, Chris Corsi, and Colleen Shea Fernald. And they admitted, what's his name? Oman. I don't know his last name.
He wasn't when they were on TV. He was not on there.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen his placards on people's lawns, so I'm not sure if he's running or not. But these are the people that the city of Santa Rosa sent on the voter update, and it's interesting because only the people who are in this pamphlet are the people who qualified for public financing. So they only actually have 5 people, and it's a question. I mean, what about the rest of them?
Yeah. What about Keith Reinhardt, or Tom
Schwindhelm, is he the retired police chief? He has his thing right here. He talks about what he's planning to do.
Well, I think I'll jump on this one for a moment. I'm looking at Tom Schwindhelm, former retired police chief of Santa Rosa. And everybody, of course, that received one of these can read what is written about him. And, you know, there's been an awful lot of angry thoughts towards law enforcement. But I submit to you, the listener, that there's often more unseen that is seen, and that law enforcement has a very difficult job. And for every so-called questionable or bad officer, there's 50 to 100 that are good. I sort of contend what Serpico said a long time ago: 10% law enforcement are really good, and 10% are really bad, and 80% wish they were really good. So you have an army of law enforcement, most of which seek to do a good job. And so for someone that was the police chief, I believe that I've never read anything negative about Tom. And so I would submit that that in his regards also, if he does not address some of these questions about Agenda 21 for the benefit of you, the listeners, the people, or the water issue, some of the things are being brought up by Colleen Fernald, then I would have trouble saying more positive things, although I know he's a good man. But if you're just going to stick to your little story and not elaborate on certain issues, then we have a problem. Now, we know Lee Pierce was once on the city council. He's a good man. He's got good concerns. I would say the same thing about him. Open up the discussion for real, and don't stick to certain little words and points that you feel you have to stick with. Or John Sawyer, we know who John Sawyer represents: booksellers and book readers. So book readers are knowledgeable, and so if you're knowledgeable, then he too has a reason to address these other issues. Curtis Bird is a minister and a planning commissioner. Well, why isn't Curtis Bird, or has he addressed the Agenda 21 issue? And as a minister, I brought up to many ministers, and I've said, why aren't you talking about the Bible fraud, the book called The Bible Fraud? Very interesting, by Tony Bushby. You can look this one up yourself. Just Google The Bible Fraud. It's very interesting, and anybody that is a professional religious person should acknowledge this and look this up for their own benefit. So who else? Did we miss anybody?
What about Chris Corsi?
Chris Corsi, real quick, I would say, is probably very able, and he knows what's going on in the city as much or more so than most. He has a very strong background.
Wasn't he a reporter?
He was a reporter from the Press Democrat, and he's got a strong background in American history. So again, I would say the same thing for him. I find that he's probably got a lot of solid points. And then the last one I'll mention real quick, and we'll flip back, is this fellow Reinhardt, who I don't know very much, but I find it refreshing that he is challenging the rest of them and the listeners to certain points. And if some of those points are not addressed, then I would give more credit to this guy Reinhardt than the others for making this an issue, and against them for not addressing those issues. That's the way I see these things should be addressed, for more open transparency.
You have
Robin?
something more to say, Robin?
As far as Ashley goes, she wants to support jobs and economic development, And she says on her website, as a council member, I will work with the business community and neighborhood groups to make downtown Sebastopol Road and our other commercial and community centers more exciting. More restaurants, more breweries, boutique hotels, art galleries, and wine shops. So she wants to make it a priority to revitalize our community centers and foster job growth by promoting smart infill opportunities. Okay, this is what you were talking about. Filling vacant commercial and office space, turning on the lights citywide, which I agree with that totally, because the lights in my neighborhood, they must be on motion sensors, because unless you're taking a walk at night, all the lights are out. And I think that's kind of unsafe. So I would support having the lights on. That's a good thing. She wants to repair and maintain our streets. This I would agree with, because if you've been driving in Santa Rosa, you might have your car out of alignment in one day or get a flat tire. Is very unsafe. And why don't they pave these roads? I don't understand that. And so I would like to see that discussed.
Yes. I think we should terminate this, but we could also talk about you being the governor.
Well, I think our time is about up, and I can tell you that if Ashley Crocker is serious about jobs, I could probably facilitate that quite a bit. And as I become governor, I might just have to put her in the lieutenant governor position. I like what she says, but I just don't like the profession that's been chosen. And I believe that most of these people here are well-intentioned. I wish them all the best, but more than that, I would strongly suggest that the public show up to some of these meetings and debates and insert some enthusiasm as opposed to the boring scenario that we keep seeing. Liven things up, because things are a lot worse than we know at this point in time. It's an exciting time in history. So let's get a little excitement involved and some enthusiasm instead of just letting things just kind of plod along the way they have. And I want to thank very much Rob and Casper and that I just met today, and Carl. I'm going to let you finish off with a few statements.
This is it. This is it for right now. We did a good job, and we'll be back. We'll see you next time. Now, Robin, you want to say something more?
I just wanted to thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah,
and I hope this has created some juices flowing in people's minds to have debate, because that's really the way we communicate. And also, I would like to say, support the Media Center.
Yes. All right.
In the smallest event that we have extra time, if this isn't cut out, I will say that as governor, one of the many things I'll do that I haven't mentioned is I will be transforming San Quentin Prison into the world's #1 jazz bed and breakfast ever. And what will happen is we'll bring in some of the best musicians, and boats will come dock outside there to listen to the music. I've talked to a lot of 101 bus drivers of Golden Gate, and they've all wanted to have jobs driving people back and forth as opposed to up and down the highways. And people will spend $1,000 a month, $1,000 a night to be in one of those prison cells for the overnight stays with incredible vegan fare. With this beautiful music, and so, and of course, a lot of people in there for petty non-crimes will be released into other programs and not be incarcerated for such foolish things. So
thank you,
that's
Peter,
one of the things.
and thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you both. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Blessings.